In lesson 6.2, we're going to find the volume of rectangular prisms, but with edge lengths that are less than 1 unit. I want you to take a look at workbook page 250. On this page, you're going to see a table very similar to this, and we're going to do some together, and then you can do the rest on your own. If you look at number 5 is already done for you. You can see that you have a cube. It's got a length of 1 unit. It's got a width of 1 unit, and then it's got a height of 1 unit. So if you apply that formula of length times width times height, or 1 times 1 times 1, you can see that the volume of this cube is 1 cubic unit, which makes sense. The whole thing itself is a cube, so it's made up of 1 cubic unit. Now look at number 6. Number 6 still has a length of 1. It also still has a width of 1, but what's different is it now only has half the height that it had before. So if you go back to, let me just erase this here. Oops. If you go back to this cube at the very top, you can see it's almost like having half of that cube. You've got the same length, you've got the same width, but now half the height. So 1 length, 1 for the width, half the height. So if I apply my length times width times height formula, 1 times 1 times 1/2, or 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 1/2 obviously is 1/2. So this one is now half a cubic unit, which obviously makes sense. This whole prism here is half of this cube. It's exactly half. So it's possible to have volume that's less than 1 cubic unit. Look at number 8. Here, this time we have a length of 1/2. We have a height of 1/2. So length of 1/2, height of 1/2, but the width is still 1 unit. So let's go back to this cube at the very top in number 5. So imagine we have half the length. Imagine that we only have half the height, but then we still have the same width. It's like having a quarter of this prism here. You only have 1/4 of it. And watch what happens when we do the multiplication. 1/2 times 1 times 1/2. And remember, it helps if you want to put whole numbers over 1 when you're multiplying with fractions and whole numbers. So 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 times 2 is 4. So we have a quarter cubic unit, which obviously makes sense because it's exactly 1/4 or 1/4 of the original prism. Again, we just have a prism that has a volume that's less than 1 cubic unit. So now I want you to look at page 252. We're going to do a couple more problems together. We're going to focus on 20 and 23. Basically, you're going to apply the same formulas that you did before. You can either do volume equals length times width times height, or you can do volume equals the area of the base times the height, which is pretty much the same thing. Let's see here. So if I look at number 20, here I have fractions that represent my length and my width. My length is 1/3, my width is 1/4, and then my height is 1, or 1/1. So when I do the multiplication, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, and for the denominators, 3 times 4 times 1 is 12. So this one actually has, I should just put that on the line, 1/12 cubic feet. We can also use the other formula if you choose. First, you find the area of the base, which is just 1/3 times 1/4, right? Length times width, that gives you 1/12. And then 1/12 times the height, which of course is 1, you're still ending up with 1/12. So you can see how both formulas are useful, both will work. Now in number 23, this time we have decimals. Same idea. It's just possible to have a prism that's less than 1 cubic unit. Here we have a length of 0.4. We have a width of 0.7. And then we have a height of 0.3. So 4/10 times 7/10 times 3/10. And you're welcome to use a calculator here for this page if you want, but 3/10 times the 4/10 times the 7/10 is going to give you 0.084, and that's meters cubed, or cubic meters. Or of course you can use the other formula if you choose. The area of the base, you'd have to do length times width, so 0.4 times 0.7, and that's going to give you the 0.28 for the area of the base, and then you can times that by your height, which is 0.3, 3/10, and once again you're going to end up with that 0.084, or 84 thousandths. So, a couple short takeaways. Some rectangular prisms are smaller than a unit cube. However, they still have volume. The edge lengths of a rectangular prism may be less than 1, so they may be fractions, they may be decimals. You can still multiply the length times the width times the height with fractions or decimals.